Kim, one question I want to ask you is to do with the ability of creative, artistic people to make a living in an age where people don't conceive of actually paying for stuff online. I'll just give you an example. So Bette Midler recently claimed that she'd been streamed more than 4 million times on Pandora in a 3-month period and was paid $114 in royalties.
$114. If Bette Midler can't make a living on the internet, how can the rest of us?
Well, Bette Midler also has concerts, right?
Yeah.
So those 4 million streams will ultimately translate into ticket sales because she has fans that actually want to listen to her. You know, there are other revenue streams for artists. So, I think Bette Midler is still doing pretty well.
So how do we foster creativity in the coming years? And, well, for example, that some people say that in decades to come that our standard of music and our standard of movies won't be as high because young creative people will feel they can't make a living from it.
No, it's absolutely wrong. And I tell you why it's wrong. It's because technology makes things better. You know, I mean, look at the effects we have in movies today. And look how much cheaper they are today than they were 5 years ago. So in another 10 years down the road, you will be playing super realistic video games. You will be watching movies that will be so much more exciting and cheaper to make than they are now. And you will have artists that are using the latest tools, the latest computers to put their songs out in a day. You know, so I don't agree with that. I think the evolution is being accelerated by the internet and by technology, and we will see that throughout the entire sphere of entertainment.
Does technology teach people how to write better scripts?
Not necessarily, but it opens new ways and new tools to give you a new picture of a story. You know, so just imagine what we will do in 5 years when you look at a movie today like Avatar, right? In 5 years' time, you will be feeling that. They're talking about cinemas where the seats start shaking and you smell the actual fear and the smoke and things like that. You know, Hollywood really needs to make moviegoers excited about the movies, not just with the film itself, but with the entire package. And that's something you will never get at home in front of your computer screen, you know, and that's where Hollywood needs to focus to keep ticket sales up.
Isn't that the argument that Hollywood's making, though, that because of piracy, we can't afford to produce the same kinds of movies that we have done?
Well, it's not really true. I mean, look, the movies are getting more expensive every time, you know? So if that was the case, then that wouldn't be happening. You need to understand something about how this Hollywood licensing model works and why piracy actually exists. They release a movie in the US first and then 3 months later in other countries, right? You need to understand why that's happening. Because Hollywood is raising the money for the new movies that they are making well in advance, before the movie is actually shot. And they're going to Germany, to France, to Italy, and they have all these licensing partners where they collect the money, raise the money to produce the movie. Now, these licensing partners want to have the rights for a local premiere. They want to make sure that they can launch it whenever they want and that they keep the rights for that country. So that makes it really difficult for Hollywood to release contents globally at the same time, because otherwise they would lose that additional investment stream, right? Which basically gives them a license to print money because they don't have to put their own money into the movies. And what that does in return is if a New Zealander can now not access that content because of these limitations, they are looking for it elsewhere. They go to Google, they type in the name of the title, they find it on some third-party website where they can download it for free, and they will do it even though they would love to pay for the content online, but they don't find it anywhere.
How limited is New Zealand with our internet capabilities? How behind the times are we?
We are really a third world country when it comes to connectivity. You know, New Zealand is connected to the rest of the world with just one submarine cable that's as big as your thumb. And it has almost met its lifetime, you know. So we need to put in more infrastructure. We need to be better connected to the rest of the world, and we also have to make sure that this entire country is well connected. You know, I've just spent 5 days up north, and I've never seen anything like it. I was traveling in my car for an hour with no service, and you wonder, you know, how in the world is that possible? We're living in New Zealand. What if I have an accident? If I need an emergency service to rescue me because, you know, I'm bleeding out.
I remember living in New York. There's no service between 34th Street and 75th. So the American, I mean, it's the same. You think that New York is this, super connected place. I remember there was no service in cars.
When was that, in 1985?
No, seriously, it was like 3 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, but still, compared to the United States or
I'm
anywhere
not
in Europe,
that. I'm not disputing
New Zealand is so far behind, and it's really keeping us behind economically as well, because the greatest opportunity for New Zealand and the greatest potential for growth lies in that digital economy, the internet future. It's a giant marketplace out there for New Zealanders to participate and succeed in that. They need to have the basic tools, which is cheap broadband with massive capacity.
Tell us about that time in Northland, because for a lot of New Zealanders who haven't been to Northland, it's some of the most beautiful country in New Zealand, but it's also where you can actually see shops where the shelves are fairly empty, and you can feel like it's almost third world in parts, irrespective of technology. What was your reaction from being up there?
It was pretty dire, I was really amazed. First of all, the connectivity was something that surprised me, that it was so bad. I was staying in 4 different accommodations, and it was horrible. I mean, even a tweet with 140 characters takes like a minute to be sent, and that's just unheard of. It can't be like this. The other thing that you are saying is that the economic power in that region is very small, because everything is moving to the big cities. There's no incentive there for any businesses to set up, and it's just dying out.
So what can we do?
Yeah, well, I guess the question is, what can you do through internet mana? Because let's see, the Herald Digipol today, you get 3 seats, but it's still a washout.
Yeah, we have just started. Wait a minute, and also you need to understand these polls are primarily landline polls.
That is
Our
true.
voters don't have a landline. So 2.3% amongst landline voters is pretty good. Our voters have mobile phones, or they are online on the internet.
I was referring, though, to and of course I think the landline poll will weight in National's favour, so that's why there's that huge volume.
Also, what's quite interesting is that in most of these polls, 15% and more are still undecided, so that's a pretty huge number.
But it still doesn't look good for, say, Labour, Green, Internet Mana coalition. You've still got a lot of ground to make up. What are you going to do?
I think it's going to be a very tight race. I think that Labour can do a better job in being unified and letting New Zealanders know that, we can do this together and we're not just infighting each other.
Why do you think they're struggling?
I don't know, actually. It's something that National has done way better. They show unity, they show strength. I think Labour needs to get much better at that.
I think it's a problem with left-wing parties. They tend to be more divisive within themselves, whereas I'm using that dread word, right-wing parties seem to have more cohesion.
But the thing about a great leader is also the power to unify the other people in a party behind someone, And I think, Cunliffe only had very little time to have a go at it, and that might be a contributing factor.